Joining me now is Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi. She is Democrat of California. It's great to have you on the program. I'm curious how you think about the message about this president and incumbency particular on that sort of central question that is always at the core of a re-election campaign for any incumbent, particularly an incumbent president, of the are you better off, have things gotten better?
Well, thank you for your presentation of the facts of our economy. Congratulations on your show. And I'm honored to be once again on your first. I was on the first when you started, and now the first for this year, this election year. I always see things from the kitchen table. And at the kitchen table, we see, as you mentioned, wages are up, unemployment is down. What is also so is inflation is diminishing, even though it's a global phenomenon and we compare well to other countries. But I also see the cost of course, affordable care, health care. When you talk about 4 years ago and you see that the president at that time was in denial, in delay, people lost their lives. He was fighting the Affordable Care Act. He said he was going to repeal and replace. He never came up with a plan. Now he says Obamacare sucks. Well, the fact is, it is very high in public mind. And if you're at that kitchen table, the cost of health care is not only a health issue, it's a financial health issue as well. And related to health is a woman's right to choose, because that's an economic issue. If and when you would have enlarge your family. In terms of LGBTQ and everything, democracy and a fair economy are personal issues, So we have to have clarity in how we put out these facts, and I appreciate what you did say. Also, the stock market is up, and when it was up, when what's-his-name was president, he bragged about it. Women love me because their husband's 401k is blah, 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 and all that. The economy, the stock market is higher than it was when he was president. So let's just take it to the kitchen table about people's health, financial well-being, their freedom to live their lives, and again, the opportunity that Joe Biden has given them with unemployment, 15 million new jobs created. And as you said, some in the manufacturing sector, productivity up. This is a remarkable story, and in a short period of time. Most of that was done in the first 2 years with the Democratic Congress, says she immodestly. House and Senate, with Joe Biden as our inspiration.
You know, one of the great ironies I want to ask you about, because we have this comparison, right, 4 years. We're now in 2024. So, you know, are you better off 4 years? One of the great ironies, I think, about 2020 when you look back is the CARES Act, which was in some ways a remarkable piece of legislation, and largely, I have to say, the work of you and Steve Mnuchin, basically. I mean, it was a sort of, it was the House leadership under your stewardship, and the White House sort of tasked Steve Mnuchin. And one of the great ironies is that that legislation, which really reflected the Democratic priorities of the House, ends up sort of being a thing that I think Donald Trump tried to hang his hat on, right? So there's this sort of great irony that a lot of what was done to kind of help the country in this moment of peril really embodied the priorities of your Democratic Party and was used by Donald Trump in that election year, I suspect will again, as fodder for why he should get credit.
Well, in addition to the CARES Act, we had some follow-ups to it. And I want to commend Maxine Waters, Nydia Velázquez, in how businesses participated, how diversity was represented, and how the money was spent. And Maxine, if you could have heard Maxine and Nydia on the phone with Mnuchin, it was something historic in terms of putting it out there. And also in terms of how the funds were distributed, the opportunity for access to whether it was would become one day a vaccine, but the measure of how this was affecting our community. So again, it was the CARES Act plus. And it was bipartisan and made a difference. But there was much more we needed to do that we couldn't do until President Biden took office, and we had the rescue package, which really wrapped it up and drove it home in terms of meeting the needs of cities and counties and state governments and the people who make our society work, whether it's transportation or healthcare, or teachers or food services. The list goes on.
Yeah, that American Rescue, the ARP, and then the subsequent legislation, the Inflation Reduction Act. I mean, again, this is like in the most basic sense of messaging. You can almost, on a graph, the Inflation Reduction Act is basically passed at the moment of highest inflation. Now, do I think that causally it is the case that the Inflation Reduction Act, which sort of was cheekily named in certain ways to get Joe Manchin on board, was what caused the reduction in inflation? No. But again, the way this works is presidents take credit, and it is the fact that the Democratic members of Congress and the president signed legislation called the Inflation Reduction Act, and if you look at the graph of inflation afterwards, it literally goes straight down.
It does. And also there was deficit reduction, the reduction for the national debt in the legislation. I remind that the rescue package, which was helped to create so many jobs and, again, support our state and local governments, many of whose jobs are union jobs, and many of which were women and minority union jobs. That's really important. And also in the Inflation Reduction Act, not one Republican vote. Not one in the rescue package, and not one in the IRA. And it's in the IRA, if you talked about some aspects of it. And of course, it was the biggest bill to law to help us fight the climate crisis. But also in the bill was the reduction of the cost. For the first time, we were able to have the negotiation by the Secretary of HHS to negotiate for lower price prescription drugs for seniors. And in the bill itself, it reduced the cost of Medicare for people with diabetes and the rest from $600 a month or $500 a month, depending, to $35 a month. The Republicans have said they're going to overturn that. The pharmaceutical companies are taking it to court. Wait a minute. Let's get back to that kitchen table. Let's get back to that kitchen table. The cost of medicines and pharmaceuticals is very important in the bottom line of America's working families. Having access to the Affordable Care Act, very important. So, again, there are aspects of these bills that have directly hit home for America's families. And you know why? Joe Biden insisted upon it. We had been advocating these things for a long time and not having success with it. But he was making it a priority as part of his vision, his knowledge of legislation and what has worked in the past and not, his strategic thinking about how to legislate. And that's all up here. And then in his heart, his love for the American people. He cares. And the empathy that he has for that kitchen table, the upbringing that he had, his understanding of America's working families. So when we talk about this, we have to be trying to embrace everyone to make sure we're not fighting old fights. What we're doing is making life better for them. And that means ACA. When we won in 2018, people said, weren't you lucky that that health care was such an important issue in the campaign? I said, no, we weren't lucky. We made our own luck.
Right.
We had 10,000 events to protect the Affordable Care Act from what the Trump administration and the Republicans were trying to do. Why? Because they were representing the big corporate America in all of this and their anti-governance approach to how we meet the needs of the American people. So I'm very excited about, as President Biden goes out on the campaign trail, he can make the case very well because he knows firsthand. Because sometimes when I say to him, we have to get this or that, he said, Nancy, I campaigned on that. I wrote the bill. I'm there with you, and in some respects he did. Well, so again, it's pretty exciting to see this chance now when people are paying attention for them to see the difference that he has made.
You two have worked together for a little bit. Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi of California. Thank you very much for your time tonight.